they don't know how to get it. Let me take you to a time that I remember what I envisioned was better. People helping each other to lend a hand or whatever. It's different now, not forever. The time is for the devil, but people hating each other and want their lives to be better, yeah, whatever. They're teaching us lies inside of the school, making it cool for you to be the fool. Don't be fooled, that ain't cool. Embrace my intuition and listen while I'm dropping a jewel. Open your eyes for a better view. Man, my idol, I listened to him, though he said it some years ago. People didn't get it, I got it, now check the visual. Pac said he would be the spark to the flame, and I'm the flame from the spark, I'm the fang. Speaking only from passion to make a difference, to heal and helping the helper to help the people who need it. Cut the negative energy, cause I don't really need it. You can look at me and watch how I achieve it. Freedom. Something that everybody wants, but they don't know how to get it. Something that everybody wants, but they don't know how to get it. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Wait a minute, tell me what's free. The show ain't me. Looking over my shoulder, who gon' kill me? Cop or a friend of me? I'd rather be the person to hire the person and give him a chance when a chance wasn't given to me. Have you noticed that everything, it ain't how it really seemed to be? Seemed to me corruption and greed is what it's been faithfully ran by a corporation. Corporations are dedicated to keeping us secluded from the information. The truth, like our first black president. The truth, not Obama, but will they admit they kill us all cause the truth is that we are gods. King and Queen Rockefeller, enter them and beyond. But I'd rather be on to attract the like a far. It's funny when truth is spoken, the dark is put behind bars. But I'm beating the RC, I'm highly aware of 48 laws. I'm putting the use, no manipulation to God. I'm awakened. We need the truth for the declaration, contemplating. That's what they doing when you get probating. Occupation, teaching our youth for meaning of incarceration. Concentrate there, more funding for prison than a school, so I can sit there. Not the school, but the prison. Now you know the school corrupted. That's all part of the plan for our community. Survival experiment for a quicker aspiration. Congratulations, you alive. Now let's make a statement. What's the point if you do not want to do something that's great and become educated, then graduate to the educator? I'm dedicated for the knowledge, I'm filled with knowledge. I'm further polished than a documented scholar. My brother, it's genetic and coded. I'm talking what they don't want us to know it, and I know it. Freedom. See, this is what they need right here. Freedom. They need the truth, something that everybody wants, but they don't know how to get it. Especially our youth. I mean, they lost out here, man. Something that everybody wants, but they don't know how to get it. So who gon' speak the truth to the youth, you know? Something that everybody wants, but they don't know how to get it. I'll be a people's choice. Something that everybody wants, but they don't know how to get it. This is what I gotta do, y'all. I hit it with Black America. Something that everybody wants, but they don't know how to get freedom. I do what I want, when I want, and how I want. That everybody wants, but they don't know how to get it. Yeah. This is what I do. You gotta know who you are and what's your place. See, I'm a king.
What's good, fam? What's going on? This is Jobs, and you are tuned in to My Skin is My Sin on Blog Talk Radio. I switched it up just a little bit. Shout out to Jay Fuse, man, out of Baltimore. That's his joint, Freedom, man. Just happened to love that song, and I wanted to give it a little shine. Let me get Sean in on the line right quick. What's good, fam?
What's going on, fam? How the family doing out there? I want to know what's going on.
We alive.
I almost broke something. I didn't almost. I did break something inside the house when that song was bumping. I was like, I was in the zone. It was bars flying. There was one bar I was like, ooh, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna speak on that one as soon as I get through. And then I heard another one. I was like, okay. Then something broke in the house.
We might have to roll with that, man, for a couple of weeks.
It wasn't me. Whatever happened, broke up in here, it wasn't me.
Dude got some nice joints, too, man. Check him out on SoundCloud, man. Jay Fuse. J, what is that, hyphen Fuse, F-U-Z-E. Yeah, man. Like, he really, really got some nice quality bangers. And he's talking about something, so, you know, salute to him. Salute to 300 Gangsters Entertainment. Y'all know I got to give my shout-out since ain't nobody paying attention right now anyway. Oh, blackjunction.com, man. It got over 10,000 people signed up. It's a black media, black social network. Really is dope, man. And I find myself using that more and more. So, man, if you got a moment, support us. Who else? Dang, I can't remember my dude's name. He's got a store in Jersey. Oh, I'm so sorry, bro. I cannot remember the name of it. MySkinIsMySin.com. Make sure you check that out. Shameless self-promotion. And I know of course I'm forgetting a million people, man, but shout out to Keith, man. Shout out to Liberation Minded Media, Black Eye Stand, Do the Knowledge Radio, The Rundown with Renee, and Get This Wisdom magazine, man. Definitely shout out to the home team. All right, I think I've taken up enough of y'all time. What's good, Sean? How's life, man?
Oh, life is as usual, taking it one day at a time. I had to tell the slave to give me a day off, so I could give it to family. I wasn't able to give it to y'all last week, and I'm here now.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. That's dope.
Man, trying.
Hey,
I'm trying to get that money, bro. I'm trying to get to that next Conscious Olympics. Definitely trying to get to that next one. I missed the last one. All I could do is look at it online, like, like, dang.
And we definitely trying to, just looking back, we're trying to make some improvements, make it a little bit more seamless. And this time, we neglected to send out like a study guide, so we'll do that this time so that our contestants are more prepared, which was not their fault at all. I did let them know the topics, but yeah, we should have sent them like a study guide. So we'll do that this time. So that means we got to come up with like more than, I don't know, at least 100 questions to only use maybe 15 or 20.
Hey, everything starts. You know what I'm saying? There's a beginning to everything, and then it's progression.
I'm glad you said that because I'm gonna need you to get on some questions.
Oh yeah. I kind of was out this one. I was out. Yeah. There's a lot going on.
We switched up the topics a little bit too. Oh, we got Rome on the line too. Let me get him in on here.
Big brother.
You know what? And what's up? What's up, Ron? What's going on? That sounds good too, man. What's going on?
Man, what's the deal, fam?
What's going on?
Not much, man. I was just about to unveil the new topics for the Conscious Olympics.
Yo, can I say something before you get to that? I got
bro.
Yo, to young brothers in the streets, the dope game is not the same no more. The drug game is not the same no more. You niggas is gonna get locked up. Flat out. I swear, man. Like, niggas be thinking it's always something that they got. They already know what you're doing, man. They already know who you are. They know all this shit already, bro. You not James Bond. You ain't none of them niggas. You a regular ass nigga on the block trying to make some money, my nigga. You gotta find another way.
And when you put the risk, like when you weigh the risk up against it, like what you're out there doing to the time, like I'm thinking about it, the game ain't the same because when I was out there and around the time when I got caught up, I was going out of town and I was quadrupling. I was making 4 times off of what I spent to get it. You know what I'm saying? What I'm going out with.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm hearing the prices of what it is, and I'm like, damn, you making maybe half. Because I'm thinking about expenses and everything else. You making a flip. You making a flip, and with the penitentiary chances that you making a flip off, it ain't what it with the quadruple. Okay, I could see that. I'm making 4 times. All right. You know what I mean? Not only just doubling it back, and then I gotta put back in to get again the same thing, or maybe
Yo,
it's come on, we gotta boss up the real.
Word. They literally hustle just to say they hustle, man. Like, you niggas ain't even making no money.
I mean, let's keep it a stack though. Like I'm not gonna justify it because they ain't making as much money.
I'm talking about
you know what I'm saying?
Chances at the time when I was taking the chances. But yeah, go ahead, get it off, Ken. I'm sorry.
I get it, but it's a new day now. It's a new day, bro. It ain't like it once was.
Pack it up.
I mean, what I can't deny that I don't think it's even from a law enforcement standpoint. It's a new day. I think the streets have totally flipped from standards, and that's why you're seeing the fluctuation in the prices and the random violence. You know, it used to be the streets would only fuck with the streets.
Right.
You know, and now the streets really could care less who gets hurt or who's involved, as long as they feel that they did what they had to do, or protected their hood, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Yeah. And then you give up. See that? Then that's where they go wrong. Because once you step away from the streets, you out there. The streets can't hold you down, and the streets is what you need.
The streets have no loyalty. The streets have no loyalty and no codes, and that's why it is the way it is.
Well, all right. To change what I said, the streets, not the street, the community. Because even Nino Brown gave out chickens. You know what I'm saying? He gave out turkeys and stuff. He kind of held a moral fiber towards community there, and there is none of that now.
No, I mean, there could be a good argument made of a correlation between
a faulty community thing.
Listen, and they smoke crack and got it. You know what I'm saying? They got high. They got high. Understood that. Like now, like niggas ain't even got no excuse.
That fiber is gone. That moral fiber, is gone.
And you know what? I think that has translated into. I've always thought about that. Like when I go to a new city, I want to look at the streets, the hood, because that kind of gives me a tempo of that city. Like if the streets are structured, odds are that the city at large is structured. Like before the neighborhood we lived in before we moved here, it was in the hood. Don't get me wrong, but. And I don't know the inner workings or who was who or none of that shit, but clearly somebody had things structured in such a manner that there was not with the typical 20 dudes standing at the corner at the store or standing at the corner here. We didn't hear the random gunshot. They would throw huge parties with not a peep outside of the music. So whoever was running things over there ran it correctly. Because it turned into a sanctuary for the people that lived in up under his quote unquote control. We didn't have to deal with some of the same stuff people in the same hood, just maybe 5 or 6 blocks up, had to deal with. Because whoever was doing their thing apparently had a lot of respect and knew exactly how to do things. And you'll be surprised. Like people understand, right or wrong. People understand somebody selling dope, but they don't understand somebody getting paid and not doing nothing, and just getting paid for themselves. Now, like you were saying, like Nino Brown, and it's been dope dealers throughout history that understood the propaganda aspect of giving back to the community, let alone doing the right thing.
Facts.
And that's missing right now. Oh, and you know what, man? Hold that thought right quick. We didn't even get. Oh, damn! I done ran my mouth. I didn't realize. I told the Reverend to call up at 7:15, and he is in the queue now. So, let me let y'all know the topic before I get the Reverend on. Is the Black Church still relevant to the struggle? Featuring Reverend Harry Lewis Williams, who we got on the queue. And man, this brother was ordained in 2002, had his first book published in 1999, No Easy Walk, The Dramatic Journey of African Americans. I believe, if my memory serves me, he's written 5 books thus far. The hood pastor, man, representing Oakland to the fullest. Without further ado, man, let's get the Reverend Harry Lewis Williams on the line.
Peace.
What's good, fam?
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. I so appreciate the opportunity to be with you this afternoon. Thank you.
No doubt, man. Definitely our honor and privilege, man. So we got it's myself, Jobs. We got Sean on the line, and we got our manager Jerome on the line. So I just wanted to make sure.
Everybody.
So how's Oakland today, man? How's life?
Oh, everything's good. Oakland's a beautiful day, kind of warm out in California today. I'm from back east, and I came out here one time on a vacation, and I realized it was warm in California in the winter, and I was hooked. So it's one of those days that makes you be glad to be out here. How about you? How are you doing? How's everybody today?
Cold.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
That too, man. Glad to be here. It's snowing here though, man. So yeah. Oh man, I could take some of that sunlight right about now.
Oh man, it's still daylight out here because we've got a 3-hour time difference. But if you go outside today, you can do well with a light jacket.
Right, you ain't got.
Yeah, just go tease us like that. I got on 4 coats and a scarf.
I know how it is, though. I lived in South Florida for a few years, man, and he's right. Once you go down there, man, you stay down there for a while, bro. You do get hooked. Like, I hate snow.
Yeah.
Forget about wearing clothes.
Let's jump this off right quick, Rev.
Certainly.
What called you to the church? At what point did you realize I want to be a reverend?
Wow, I was young. I was living in New York City, and I was a rapper, and I lived a very fast life, and I realized that fast life was going to come to a very short stop end. I didn't make certain decisions in my life, and I'd grown up in church, but it was never real to me. Just like so many of us, you go to church because mom says you got to go, and it's just a part of your weekly routine. But it never spoke to me, and so so at one point in my life, somebody told me that that God has a plan for your life, and if you hear the warning signs that it's time for you to come in. And so I made this decision to serve Jesus Christ with my whole life. I realized I never played with this because I realized by looking at my mother and other people who are really serious, it's not a halfway thing. I compare it in a book that I'm writing now to being jumped into a gang because it's for kids do or die. And so I became a believer, not a quote unquote religious person, but a believer. And then that was around the time that Reverend Jesse Jackson was running for president for the first time. And I walked into a church, and the pastor said, there's no preacher has any business running for office. And the fact that he said that a person can't be a person of faith and a person concerned about the world around them, it stirred a question, and it changed my whole life. That one night.
Wow.
That's powerful.
That is. And I'm like, I'm not really a church-going person, man. Well, I'm not really. I'm just not. But that's powerful right there.
So years later, what happened? So I became a believer. I took into my heart the belief that Jesus Christ died on the cross, that he rose again on the third day, which is what Christians believe. But it's more than just that. It's more than just going to church. It's a commitment of your entire life to Christ and to those principles. And later on, I lived in Harlem at the height of the crack epidemic. And so, a lot of younger people, I don't know how old you are, but a lot of younger people don't know that there was a world where there was no such thing as crack. Well, I remember the day, just almost the day that it came out. I was living in Harlem, and I remember going outside, and you'd see these little capsules all over the ground with different colored caps on them. And I remember the proliferation of handguns, how everybody had a 9mm, had an Uzi. At night, it sounded like a war outside. You just hear gunshots all over Harlem, all over West Harlem. And I remember that thinking that this is so odd that these preachers are supposed to have a ministry to this community, but you don't see them out here. But, you know, a lot of people say a lot of negative things about Reverend Al Sharpton. There was one preacher who stood up against that evil, and it was him. Reverend Al was the one guy who would come out to the block and tell you that crack is genocide. Crack is chemical death. He would stand up to drug dealers. I seen him go to a store where they sell pipes, you know, where they sell these pipes. And he had a march. And he started, people were singing, and he walked into the store and he bought a pipe. And he came out, and he had a lot of followers around him. And he told the people, don't stand next to me. Everybody get away from me. Because the owners of the store came out. And when they came outside, he threw the pipe down and it burst into a million pieces. Then he took some red can of spray paint and he spray painted an X for death on the side of their door, on the side of their wall. And I thought to myself, this preacher's out of his mind. Doesn't he realize these people will shoot him and not think twice about it? And when I looked at that, I realized that Christianity had to be more than just something about the afterlife. I looked at Reverend Al that day and realized God is calling for us to make a stand for black people today, here, and now. And so that also changed my whole life.
Wow. And you know what? I'm not even going to lie, man. At this stage, it's not often that you hear somebody with a positive story about Reverend Al.
Very true.
That's dope. And it
absolutely.
seems like, at least from the outside looking in, at least from my perspective, it seems like Reverend Al has personified the black church to an extent, and its loss of relevance to the struggle.
You know, I remember that you know, what's his name? Public Enemy made a song. I don't know if they mentioned Reverend Al's name in it, but they talk about an incident that happened. It was a place called Bensonhurst in Brooklyn. And,
I remember that.
Remember Bensonhurst? And they would lead these marches through Bensonhurst because a young black man, I think, had got murdered because he was going there to to buy a car, and this mob of white folks jumped on him. Well, Reverend Al went to a march in Bensonhurst, and somebody ran through the crowd and plunged a dagger through his chest. Wow. That would have been the end. He lived through that. Now, that would have been the end of a lot of people's revolutionary struggle right then if they could get up from that.
Right.
But you know what? He you have to look at someone's, before you vilify somebody, you have to look at their entire history. You know, he's made the stand that a whole lot of people get on a soapbox will never make. I'm preaching to you now. I don't want to do that.
No, brother, feel free. You at home, man.
Okay.
But
absolutely at home.
With respect to Reverend Al, though, I think that maybe he has done himself a disservice then, because he is not saying it like you just said it.
I think he's gotten a wider audience. When I knew him, he was a hood preacher. He was a street preacher. He walked around in like an Adidas suit. You know, you walk into Sylvia's, a soul food restaurant, you'd see him eating there all the time. And I think his stage is broadened, and I think the kind of people that he speaks to and for is probably different. It's different for me to do what I do, you know, because I'm here in Oakland, the land of the Black Panther Party. We're out in the street. But if you get elevated to the place where you're on worldwide television, maybe something does change. I don't know.
Oh, man, you know what? I think it's just a microscope. It's always in you. It just brings it out. But I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Going back to the topic, at what point would you say that the black church was its most relevant to the struggle?
Well, I'd have to say this off the top of my head, it would be at two different locations. The first would be at the height of chattel slavery in the United States of America, because here you have all these African people who are displaced. They're in a place where they don't all speak the same language. They're being conditioned to see themselves as slaves. The Willie Lynch syndrome is real. But then you have this unique situation where, you know, there's been a lot of misinformation about the church. Well, you know, we say it's the white man's religion. Well, let me just break that down for you. First of all, there are black people in Jesus' lineage, there are a lot of black people that are mentioned in the Bible and in the early days of the church, and let's bring it forward to America.
Mm-hmm.
So when white people first introduced Christianity to the black man, they didn't mean for the black people to become quote unquote saved. Because what happens when you become a believer, when you become baptized, is that all the boundaries break down between you and the rest of the Christian community. So if you're a slave master and you baptize me, you're my brother now. You're not my owner. So they didn't want you to be baptized. They only wanted you to understand certain things about slavery. And they didn't want you to read the Bible, because if you started reading the Bible, you would learn certain precepts in the Bible teach you about human equality. And so the Bible, when some of the slaves began to read, they developed a framework that told them that, no, they weren't just going to be free in the next life, but they started reading stories about Moses and the Exodus and started realizing, you know what, God wants us to be free now. So the church created an identity. When you talk about the most powerful time of the church, at the height of chattel slavery, the church creates this identity away from the plantation for the black person. So the master said, well, no, the Bible says slaves obey your master. But here's the black person who's always able to do a little something extra. You know what? When I was young, they took all the music programs out of the school. And so what people did was they got two turntables, they put it together, and they started scratching. Somebody grabbed the microphone and started making rhymes. Black people are very creative. And so what they did was they took that creativity and they applied it to this religion that Master gave them, and they began to take it in a totally different way. And in the face of that degradation and slavery, they said, you know what, this Bible says, I exist, I am, I matter, and God made me that way. They flipped it, they syncretized it, and they made what was called the slave church, or the invisible institution. The invisible institution was when, outside of Master's eyesight, they go out by the river somewhere and start singing and doing the tribal dances from Africa that were transported over from the motherland, and when they started talking about freedom. So you have this institution that's built from nothing, just like hip-hop, built from nothing, that's telling black people you exist. Just like in hip-hop, when I was young, I was there at the birth of hip-hop. So you give somebody a name. The church did the same thing. So the church makes you somebody, makes you part of the institution. And so after slavery, the church is still this foundation piece where black people can meet away from the earshot of oppressors, where black people can form a revolutionary organization. To me, that was the height of the church's power, because the church was
I hate to cut you off, Rev. You got a little background noise going on. And I just wanted to make sure you knew. Kind of like, almost like something flying past you every so often.
See, what about right now?
Oh, you're great right now. That's perfect.
Okay. So let me just give you the set, because I'm moving back and forth when I start talking. Let me just conclude by saying this. I read a book called Parting the Waters by Taylor Branch. And it's a trilogy, and the first part of that trilogy won the Pulitzer Prize. And you began to realize that by the 1950s, 1960s, the black church is still the primary institution of liberation in the black community. And so when something bad happens to you, there's only one person in the community that's unbossed and unbought. That's the preacher. The preacher does not work. The preacher works for you. The preacher, nobody can walk up to the preacher and say, Negro, if you keep saying this, you won't get a paycheck. They can do that to regular people, but they can't do that to the preacher, because the black people pay the preacher. So in return, the preacher's role is, if something happens to you, he is going to stand up for you. And so then you look at Rosa Parks gets arrested, and there's a Edie Nixon, who's a secret car porter, who lives in the community, and the head of the NAACP, the local NAACP, goes to King and the preachers and says, make this stand. So you see the church then become the instrument of liberation and the foundation piece of the civil rights movement, the second height of the movement. So those two pieces.
Okay, so what would you say, just from your standpoint, what was the beginning of, and I don't want to say the end, but I'm trying to think of a better word, but the downturn in the church's relevancy.
You're going to have to help me because I'm looking for the name of this movie, and it was about the Wayans brothers. I'm going to get you, sucker. Did you ever see that movie?
Classic. Man, that movie was hilarious.
Okay. All right. You remember that one? You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the scene where they talk about how the brothers walked in to some like IBM or some corporation, and they put their fists up and said, we're going to shut this place down, and the guy says the amazing thing that happened was they gave us jobs, and so what they become is they became part of the corporatocracy. You know, they became part of the system. So here's what happened to the black church is not just part of the black church. It's symptomatic of a lot of things that happened to the black community. You got to read this book called Disintegration by Eugene Robinson. He's a writer for the Pulitzer Prize writer for the Washington Post. He writes this book called Disintegration, and it talks about how the black community changed after the civil rights legislation. And so what he says at one time when Dr. King was speaking, or even Malcolm was speaking, when they said, I'm talking to black people, or back then they would have said Negroes, they were talking about one monolithic group of people. Now it's 7. Now you've got the people that they would call the transcendents, and that's people like Oprah and Mr. Obama and Colin Powell. And then all the way at the bottom, you've got people that they would have called the abandoned. And that's people in the hood who they say are at the worst place since the height of chattel slavery. So you've got 7 different layers, and what happens is when the housing covenants are struck down and the voter rights bills and the housing bills pass, African American people can leave the inner cities. So one of my favorite movies was called Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored, and Phyllis Rashad was in an awesome movie. If you get a chance, you probably could see it on YouTube. But you see this monolithic culture where if you walk downtown and you'd see the barber was black, the dentist was black, the guy who worked in the shoe shine shop was black. So you had all of these people pulling together who lived together in this one community. Then you have the civil rights movement takes place by the late 60s. All of the people who have means who really benefit. The civil rights movement doesn't benefit everybody. It benefits people with education, because it opens the doors for them. Those people leave. And what you have something that sociologists call the brain drain. So now, first of all, you've got a sociological piece that's going on here. So you have the fact that all of these black people of means leave the community, and now they live out in the suburbs, and they commute back into the city. They don't live there anymore. And what happens is, as time goes on, some of them begin to look down on their brothers and sisters who still live in the street, who still live on 116th Street, who still live, if you're here in Oakland, they still live in the deep east Oakland sections. They look down on them, and they create these enclaves within the inner city, and these structures exclude people who would have been called the disadvantaged or the disinherited. And so what's happened is that you have this division in the community between people who we call people live in the hood, and in Oakland we would call it the hills. And people get really angry when you say that. I had some preachers write me some nasty things last week. Oh, some nasty things.
I'm just saying, it sounds like an oxymoron right
there. About what?
They were furious because I talk about this. Because I'm out in the street. I'm not a regular preacher. I'm the preacher you'll see on the corner hollering at people in front of a liquor store. And I don't preach down to people. I'm a hood preacher. So if you get in trouble and you know me, if and you're out in the street, I'm the person you might come in and look for. Because that's the kind of I want to be a preacher like Jesus, who was always seen in the streets. He wasn't seen in the temple. But I started talking about the fact that the church has become divided, and the young people have left the church, and the people who are poor don't come to the church because we have created this division between people of great means who come to church and the people in the community. And preachers hate when I say that. And they wrote me some bad stuff. Compared to, I wouldn't even tell you what they told me last week.
Wow. Let me ask you
That's
this. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think it's because they feel there's no money in the streets, preaching in the streets?
What happens is not even. I think part of it is that. Part of it is that and I've had somebody, a leading church person, say that to me. He said you can't pass the pain in the streets. Well, he said they can't, because the person told me they can't contribute. But it's more than that. It's because what happens is, I'm saying something that's going to make a lot of people angry, but I don't care, because I got to answer to God and my community. So that's right. That's why.
That's right.
So when I walk out of my house today, I won't have to put my head down. This is what the reality is, that we have in Christianity breaks down certain barriers. It breaks down barriers between the rich and poor, black, white, Latino, Asian. I have friends of every race you can imagine. It just breaks down all of these barriers. But what's happened is we have erected a wall between the Cosbys and who was the family, and the Good Times and the Evans family.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's a wall between the Cosby family and the Evans family from Good Times. And so what happens is that you don't see them as your brothers. You might dole out little goodies for them at Christmas time and Thanksgiving and give them baskets, but you're not bringing them in to be one with you and your family within the wall. That's not the aim of your situation. And the other thing that's real problematic is the church is no longer the social organism that it once was. So first of all, if you move to a new community, when I was young, or my parents were probably young, you found the church, because it was part of your, not only your faith system, but it was part of the social thing. Today, that's not true. So the church really has to go out to young people. The church has to adopt hip hop. The church has to adopt some of these social media things. And the church has to change, or the church this beautiful organism that I love and I cherish and I'm a part of, if we don't change, it will die.
I do think that with respect to the church, like nowadays, especially with the quote-unquote conscious community, you have a lot of people woke who don't believe in church or maybe not even God, but they love black people.
Right.
And I think that even in that case, there has to be a way where the church is willing to work with people who just trying to do something for the community and don't have to necessarily share their ideology.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, see, one thing that the church has that, like jobs to transition to that, the conscious community doesn't have is a structure. Because there's so much information out there of being conscious, there's so much of that. I can go this way, I can go that way. I can be totally, church has structure.
Right.
And that's needed. That's needed. Church has structure. And one thing, like, what I was saying, because it was the time when I was beating the hell out of, religion, like,
oh my
beating
goodness.
it up.
Yes, it was.
Information I had. Yes. One thing, okay. But then after I beat it up, after I beat it all up, then what? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm like the Incredible Hulk. I'm angry, I'm walking around, I'm stomping, smashing this and that, and then what? You know what I mean? If I'm trying to help my people, what, I'm smash everything? So where is the structure? So Christianity, that spawned out of African spirituality and such and so forth. So as long as it links right, I have no problem with it. So that's where I grew.
Yeah.
So we need structure. That's what I'm listening. I'm sitting back and I'm listening. One thing. I ain't gonna lie. You kind of sold me a little bit on Al. In my mind, because I'm looking at it a certain way, but I'm still like standing back. For in the beginning, I was like, I ain't buying Al. But
not yet.
I'll paint it the way when if I could speak on it later how I see it. But go ahead.
Well, you gotta. First of all, I saw the video of. I have a lot of loved ones now in Baltimore. I have people from the conscious community that I love. And I got blood family members in Baltimore. So I saw that video. And I was like, wow, they don't even know who that is. They don't know his history. They've never read any of the books about it. They don't know who his part in the struggle. But I want to just say something about going back to the conscious community and the black church. Let's go back to Marcus Garvey. All right. Marcus Garvey, I don't know how much of a Christian he really was. He did have a religious segment to the UNIA. They believed in black angels. He believed in some level of black theology. But you fast forward to Malcolm. Malcolm was not a Christian, but look at the people that he partnered with. He partnered with Adam Clayton Powell. He partnered with a lot of the black church. He spoke in black churches. His most famous sermon ever was the Ballad of the Bullet, and it wasn't given in a mosque. It was given in the Shrine of the Black Madonna under the ministry of Reverend Albert Cleave, a black nationalist preacher. So even when you look at the movie, which is real life, in the end, he's sitting there waiting for a black preacher who they call Reverend Chickenwin to come in. He always partnered with people. He could look past people's ideology and look at their heart and look at their commitment to the struggle. So there have been a lot of black preachers who have failed us, who have sold out. But that's everything. That's not me. I like that. That's not me. So you just
the black double agent.
Right. You can't put everybody with this and paint everybody with the same brush. Minister Farrakhan, same thing. Who was most of the people at the Million Man March were not Muslims; they were Christians. So when we start saying, well, you know what, we start dividing each other, according to certain our religious systems. I mean, here in the black, I go to I'm a member of a church in East Oakland, and back in the '60s. The Panthers came. Well, the Panthers came from here, so the Panthers walked into the church meeting of the church and said, "You know what? You bunch of sellouts, you local cops." I mean, because that was their original thought about the black church, and they started. Maybe it was, but the brothers in the church were no punks neither, and they told them, "You can respect us," but they came together and they said, "You know what? We need a place where people can meet so that we can go up and see our loved ones who are incarcerated." It was the churches who came through for the Black Panther Party. But when the Panthers came to an end, a lot of the people who were in the Panthers joined the church. If I go up to one of Angela Davis or Bobby Seale today and I say, you know what, I'm a member of, and I tell them the name of my church, they're like, oh, because they respect that. We have that today because we're no longer based in a church culture. That respect is gone. You go up to somebody, I'm a minister, they form an opinion that might not be right.
I have a question.
Yes.
What do you feel like it is that the black church needs to do in order to get us back into that direction to really connect with the people?
Well, you just said it. You know what? It's got to go back to the grassroots level. Denmark Vesey lived in the 1800s. He was one of the first. He was trying to lead a slave insurrection. He was murdered, but he was not only part of the black church, he was part of the black community. And so what's happened is we're no longer part of the community. We've lost a lot of the precepts of Christianity that have separated us from that. Let me talk about John Foreman. John Foreman was he was with SNCC. He was one of the people that marched with Dr. King. Civil rights movement comes to an end. He goes into Riverside Church, and he interrupts the service, walks up something you never do, pushes the preacher out of the way.
Wow.
And he begins to read this document called the Black Manifesto. And he tells his teachers, you know what, you have abandoned us. You haven't been there for us. You have not fought against systemic racism in the society, and we're demanding that you do X, Y, and Z. And what we need today is, and I know I'm making a lot of enemies. We need
not here, bro.
We need some. I'm not going to tell you to walk up in the church. I don't believe in that. I believe in the sanctity of the church. But at some point, we have to confront our preachers and say, look, you created a system that's not even biblical. You created a system that separates you from the community. So, the answer to your question is, we have to link back up. We have to link these two cars together. The church has become this isolated, like a fort in hostile country. And what happened is anybody that you look at who was successful and was a believer, even Reverend Al, who I talked about, he was outside of the building. So the one thing is we have to have a new love for the people in the hood. That has to be demonstrated because we're going to have to go outside of the hood. We're going to have to do something like adopt hip-hop music.
Right.
So first of all, I'm a hip-hop fan before there was a such thing as a rap record, and I'm saying that in all sincerity. The first time I ever heard hip-hop, there was no such thing as a rap record, and nobody thought that would ever exist. So that's in my blood. So how can you say that I'm here to connect with this community who that's their lifeblood? That's how they create, that's how they transmit love, politics, everything. And you say that's not going to be a part of this situation. You're going to have to adopt younger preachers. You're going to have hip-hop in your church, or you have to have, you're going to have to shorten the services. Most young people aren't trying to go to church for 2.5, 3 hours. They're trying to go to church for an hour. So you'd have to make some cultural changes to the church in order to make it go. But basically, you've got to get back to the teachings of Jesus. Can I read your scripture that something Jesus said?
Feel free, Rev.
Okay, all right. So this is at the beginning of Jesus' ministry, and he says he gets up in front of he goes to Nazareth, his hometown, and so he goes into the synagogue, and they hand him the scroll, and he begins to read. And listen closely to what he says. He says, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." So here you have this Jesus who is not trying to make his pockets fat or have you buy him a Rolls-Royce chariot. He's saying that God has sent me to help the poor people, to help people who are blind from the truth to see, to help free the prisoners. What would that mean in the 21st century, to help free the prisoners? So if that's what
that could be taken a couple different ways.
Right.
That means you're going to try to bring down the prison industrial complex if you say you're following him.
Right.
And I think that's the disconnect right there. I think, especially during the 60s, the church didn't just talk about stuff. The church did stuff. The church was front line in the struggle. You can say what you want. You may not even believe in the Bible at all, but you had to respect the willingness to put their life on the line. And now it's like they don't even want to put their W-2s on the line, let alone their life.
Fact.
Well, you know what caused that, right? You know what caused that has to happen. It's the prosperity gospel.
You know what
the prosperity? Do you know what the prosperity gospel is?
Making some money.
What's that?
And that's like I'm assuming. I don't know for a fact.
The Joel Osteen.
I didn't say his name. I didn't say that name. You said that name. I didn't say that name. You said it. I don't know who listened, so you didn't hear me say that. You didn't mention that. No, I'm not going there. But basically,
I try to sum it up.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. You saw that TV show. What was the name of that show that came on? The Preachers of L.A.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Oh,
yo,
man.
It looked like a death row video shoot out there, man. Where they had Lambos everywhere, and you know what I mean, money and hey, man, wow.
So that's not
That's a tough one for me right there too, because on the one hand, I'm not a religious person, but if you believe in if you believe in the Bible and you are a good preacher and you are doing things right and giving back, I do think that you should have a couple of things. I don't think you need a Lamborghini, You know,
Right.
nothing wrong with a nice clean Cadillac.
Yeah.
Yo,
But you know,
I mean-
there's a difference between people pimping, and being a shepherd. Right. I said
Right.
people pimping and being a shepherd. Yeah. I'm a shepherd, okay. But yeah.
You're right, but you know that whole theology has leaked into the black church. You know, that goes back to Reverend Ike. Even before Reverend Ike, there was a guy named Daddy Graves, Father Divine, and people said, "Man, I don't have to hustle crack rock. I don't have to, that's illegal." And so instead of that, we can figure out how to flip these scriptures and have these people who believe in God filling our pockets and telling us. We'll tell them what they want to hear and shoot, and we get paid. And unfortunately,
wow.
That's how it works. I look at some of these people, and I wonder if they believe in God at all. And I'm deadly serious. But they found a way to make millions and millions of dollars off of people who do. I've seen all kinds of crazy things. So now you've got this prosperity gospel that says it's an anathema to social justice. Because social justice says if I'm a believer, I'm here to give back to you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to uplift you. That scripture that I talked about talks about I'm here to uplift you, change your situation. If I believe in prosperity gospel, I'm here to uplift my situation. And and so you don't have those churches. You don't have. It's either one or the other. And portions of that theology have leaked through to a lot of different churches. That's one reason why the church is not as strong as it was in the human rights, civil rights struggle.
And Rev, hold that thought just for a second, if you don't mind. I want to get to one of our callers. And before I do that, man, I need to let everybody know you tune in to My Skin Is My Sin on Blog Talk Radio. From goons to guys, man, we welcome anybody. And y'all already know, man, we only have one rule, and that's be respectful. And that don't stop today. It won't stop tomorrow. Didn't stop yesterday. We're going to get to 1294 right quick. What's good, fam?
Yo, what's going on, y'all?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Patrick Jones, a.k.a. Young Malcolm. What's going on with y'all?
What's up with you, bro?
Good.
What's up, man? What's up? I wish I could have tuned in sooner, man, but I had the baby, and my wife just got back in the house, so I apologize. I didn't get to call in a little bit
Don't try
early.
to blame it on the baby, man.
That's not right. You don't apologize. No apologize. Actually, you salute for that.
Yeah. So, speaking on the black church, I just want to bring up a couple of points, and what my brother was just talking about, you know what I'm saying, he's spot on, you know what I'm saying, talking about prosperity gospel. My father-in-law, God rest his soul, was a minister, you know what I'm saying, his entire life. This man was so he believed in the faith so much, he believed in Jesus so much that he was upset that he did not die at 33. He was truly upset. He was truly upset. I mean, it truly, you know what I'm saying, bothered him. And he died, you know, he had diabetes, and he died. He would have been 60 years old today, as a matter of fact, or yesterday. He'd have been 60 years old.
Wow.
And he passed away in 2015. And one of the things that he said to me that always resonated, man, was dealing in dirt and stealing in the name of the Lord. And,
yes.
And that, I don't know if you guys ever watched the deposition of that minister who owned the big house and the Rolls Royce and they have a deposition, and they're asking him questions about buying, you know, $5,000 Gucci belts and, you know, Gucci shoes and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's what it's become. I went back to the church my wife grew up in, which her father eventually left and converted to Judaism, because let's keep it real, Jesus was a Jew.
Yes, he was.
And he says specifically in the Bible, you know what I'm saying, that there is no other religion. He says that, you know what I'm saying, you should not you know, bear witness to false idols, which if you walk into any church in America, you know what I'm saying, for the most part, you'll see a white Jesus. You go to a Catholic church, you'll see, you know what I'm saying, the Virgin Mary and all the other saints that they believe in, which all are direct contradictions to the Bible, to the Torah, to the Quran. And one of the things that he explained, you know, he did a lot of recordings on YouTube, and hopefully I get a chance to post some of them so you can listen to this man talk. because he truly believed in the Word. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a religious man, because religion would mean that, you know what I'm saying, I follow, you know what I'm saying, something that man created, and I do not. I do not. You know, I can't follow something that, you know, everybody knows about Constantine.
So what would you say you are then? Are you a believer in God, or
I'm a believer in God. I'm a believer in Jesus. I'm a believer in God. I'm a believer in Jesus. And I'll tell you why.
Just not aligned to a particular religion.
Yeah. Well, my wife is Jewish. I attend Jewish synagogue every Saturday with my wife. You know what I'm saying? And
that's got to be unique.
You're Christian.
What's that?
You're Christian.
No, absolutely not.
You believe that Jesus Christ died for our sins? Do you believe that?
Do I believe that he died for our sins? Yes, and Jewish people do too. See, that's a common misconception.
You're Christian.
No, that's a common misconception. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. They do believe in Jesus. They do believe that Jesus died for our sins.
I'm listening.
Yeah, so with that being said, this man, whether, you know what I'm saying, he was the Son of God, if you actually read the book and don't try to interpret it, you know what I'm saying, the way that we were told to interpret it, because a lot of people do that. They read a book and they say, oh, well, this is what I got out of the book, and I could read that very same book and say, well, this is what I got out of that book, and then, you know what I'm saying, the next person can read that very same book and say, oh, this is what I got out of the book, and that's what happens in churches.
But
you know what I'm saying? They try to misinterpret
though.
We all are the sons. We all are sons and daughters of God. We are all sons and daughters of God.
Well, right, but just because we can both see the color red doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see the same shade.
Understood. Yeah, and that's the point I'm making. You know what I'm saying? Like we have taken, you know what I'm saying, these words and manipulated them to mean whatever we want them to mean at the time. Whatever fits our, you know what I'm saying, our agendas. And I don't mean our by anybody on this phone. I mean as, you know what I'm saying, human beings. That's just what has happened over the course of time. Yeah, exactly. Right. You know what I'm saying? Constantine was a pagan. You know what I'm saying? And he decided that the only way to control the people in his country was to bring all of the religions together and take these books, you know what I'm saying, and decide what stays and what goes in order to control the masses. And that's what people follow today. And that's, you know what I'm saying, where it all began to fall. America, you know what I'm saying, calls themselves a Christian nation. There's nothing Christian about America. This country is as godless as it could possibly be.
But let me ask you this, though.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this, bro. Well, a couple of things. Did you have a question for the Reverend? And I guess my second one would be not so much a global church question, but just about the black church. Do you think that it's still relevant to our struggle today?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And no, and I honestly can't say that it ever was. It gave us a sense of purpose.
And see, that would be but see, I hate when people say that, though, man. And I'm sorry if I cut you off there, but I hate when people say that because that's being disingenuous historically. Like you may not.
Yes, but I can explain why I feel the way that I feel.
Wait a minute, but hold on. But you may not like how the church was started for us here. It may have had the most negative of connotations when they quote unquote allowed us to congregate the church. You know, but just like the Reverend was saying earlier, you know, we flipped that and we're able to use that in a lot of instances to escape slavery. We were able to use
and that's why I said
that
it gave us a sense of comfort.
Yeah. I say the church is like a garage sale. You know what I'm saying? You take what's good and you leave the rest. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
It gave us a sense of comfort in a time where we needed comfort. It gave us a sense of comfort in a time where we needed comfort. It gave us something to believe in when it didn't seem like there was anything to believe in. However, ultimately, it became one of our biggest downfalls. We followed something that they gave us and said, hey, this is what you're supposed to follow. You know what I'm saying? This is what you're supposed this is what you're supposed to follow from now on.
Transformer? That's the only thing I could think of right now for the analogy. Go ahead.
And I want Rev, you still with us, right?
Absolutely. I've heard every word.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure you ain't lost in the sauce over there.
No, I'm following you. I don't agree. I've got my own thoughts on some of that, but I'm giving the brother his respectful listen.
Yeah.
Because yeah, if I could say this, we're not here to talk, we're not going to talk at this time. If you have another conversation you want to talk about the history of the church, I'd love to do that. But basically, we want to talk about the black church today. And
no, we can talk about that, absolutely.
Okay. You can't deny the roots of the black race, of the most basic in the history of the black struggle are Christians. The first people to talk about Black Power and
you breaking up, Rev.
Okay, let me see. Hold on a second. How's that?
Right.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's
a lot better.
Yeah.
For the first people to talk about black empowerment, to talk about say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Before James Brown, they were Christian people.
Mm-hmm.
The people that led slave revolts, and the people that were the Christian preacher on the slave plantation was the most feared person in the whole slaveocracy. No matter how brutal the master was, if the slave pastor said, you know what, we're not. If you don't treat us better, we're not gonna work today. Everybody throw down your hose. Black people were so in tune with religion and so spiritual, they would listen to them. If you saw the movie about Nat Turner that came out a while ago, Nat Turner said we're gonna kill everybody. That's it. We're going. Then everybody said okay, because they all believe in black preachers have used that. Not all black preachers are corrupt. Now I've seen a bunch of them that are, but not all of them are corrupt. And we have been the basis for that struggle from the beginning.